crack on and start having our chat. As when Andy's talking, I'm going to start making a few notes about your locations, really. So excuse me whilst I look down. So again, we've got Candy coming in. So we've got a few people joining us. So first of all, thank you very much, and thank you for giving us your time and dedicating this to the Spirit Release Academy. Most of you know who we are now. I'm Jonno, and the guy in the white t-shirt is Andy. And together we started the Spirit Release Academy. So just to give you a little bit of background before we open it up to you guys for questions and things like that, and we will obviously go through the courses that we're doing. Just to give you a bit of background, the Spirit Release Academy has been started by myself and Andy because we want to push the quality of spirit release therapy. And it's not that we don't believe there's very good spirit release therapists out there. There are. But we're trying to push the training, and we're trying to create the most excellent academy learning center for spirit release work that there is. The reason for that, and it's important you understand the reason for it, which is the reason why we started the academy as a whole, really, is because in our experience, spirit release therapy can be done by anybody. And Andy and I both have experience of seeing people go through a 4-day course with no previous knowledge, no previous experience, not really receiving training, and then coming out with a certificate where that day they advertise themselves as spirit release specialists. Those spirit release specialists then normally end up in the inbox of either myself or Andy because they've got themselves in trouble, they've got their clients in trouble, and Andy and I have a number of experiences where we have gone in and bailed them out. This has meant that there's people coming into SRT, spirit release therapy, that could be good, and they could go on to do amazing work. But unfortunately, the experience has meant that they've ducked out because they weren't trained, they weren't experienced before they went out into the big world and started dealing with clearings. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to take that experience out completely. The courses that we're doing are going to be a mixture of, well, they are all online. Apart from the face-to-face course, they're all online. But in essence, the course is going to be a blend of theory, of learning, of talking, of discussing. Andy and I will share every experience that we have with you and every experience that we can to help you and to help you train. You will go through case studies. You will go through live studies. You will go through live cases. You will need to put together a portfolio. That portfolio will be verified and assessed. On verification and assessment, you will pass the course. Alongside Andy and I will be the two main trainers. But alongside us, we have people at the moment who are going through the process of becoming assessors for the Spirit Release Academy. These are people that in their own rights, they are spirit release therapists. They're known to myself and Andy, and they have been known to myself and Andy for, I'm going to guess, 4 years, Andy, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, probably
4 years-ish. And we know them very well. And also they know us very well. So during the course, we will drip feed information, go through information with you. You'll have the opportunity of learning. You'll then go through the assessment, passing the assessment on to the next factor of the course. And then towards the end, we start working the protocol with live case studies. And you put together your portfolio, and then it will come through for final assessment, verification, and certification. Once you get the certification, it doesn't end there. We will be hosting, at the moment, we're going to try and do weekly lives for certified practitioners, where we will be working live cases as a training as an ongoing support and training school. So once you get your certificate, it doesn't mean that you have to go off into the big wide world on your own. Andy and I are there. The assessors are going to be there. You're going to build a community within the academy, and we're going to meet weekly where we can start going through cases, where we can start gaining further experience. What it also means is that once we have our community, we have a whole host of people that can share experiences, share their questions and share their knowledge and share their answers. What this actually means is that you will begin to see what Andy and I see. And that is an incredibly humbling sector within the holistic industry. I can't really be any more black and white about it. The work that we do is incredibly humbling. When you have someone come to you who is at their wit's end, perhaps suicidal, or their friend is suicidal, and we get the kind of messages that we get, and then that day we receive positive feedback, and that is why we do it. So if you think of all the people in the world that have anxiety, have depression, have stress, have experienced trauma in their emotions, there's a very, very high chance that their energy is not sovereign. And by sovereign, we mean that their energy is not pure to that person. And if there's interference in that sovereignty, and if it's energetic, then the chances are we can help clear it. We can help get rid of it, and we can help make that person better. It's not the whole answer. There are many people that go on to require therapy, counseling, and everything else. But without the release work that we do, counseling won't work, because the attachment is still there. The fear-based frequency within their etheric is still there. So it is incredibly humbling what we do. And this is why we do it. And it's going to affect every country in the world. And it's going to probably affect everybody in the world. And that's how big this is, because everybody is energy and everybody experiences trauma in one way or another. So it's important to us that we try and get the correct training out there, and that we try and get really good quality practitioners work in the industry. Andy and I have been working individually for 20 years in healing, psychic surgery, and spirit release therapy. I've known Andy for, 2018, I knew Andy, and I've been working with him since, and Dr. Palmer as well. And I'll leave Andy to talk more about Dr. Palmer. So for myself, for 4 years, unfortunately, because Terry passed. For 4 years, I worked with Dr. Palmer and Andy. Dr. Palmer sadly passed away just over a year ago, 18 months ago, and I've been working with Andy since. Andy and I are both very confident in what we do and how we do it. And we honestly thought that when we put the academy together, it would take us about 2 to 3 months to get this ready. That was in November last year. And this whole course has taken us nearly a year to put together. So it is something that, one, we're extremely proud of, but two, by no means is it a 5-minute thing that we've put together, thrown together, and trying to get other people to do it. It's not about that at all, which is why we have an application process. So part of the application process is what you're actually in. And we're not here to turn anybody away, but we are here to see that your fit is right for us as much as our fit is right for you. So we are looking for people to come in on one of two flanks, one being the medium. And if they are a medium, they need to be a proven medium. They need to be able to work with their spirit guides. They need to be able to work either as a reader or as a healer. And they need to have full connection with their spirit guides. Or we're looking for facilitators, perhaps people that have a distinct interest in spirit release therapy and they have the ability to control a session. They have the ability to communicate with the medium. They have the ability to really prepare a whole spirit release session and make sure that the client is looked after 100%. Ideally, those people are going to be come from a psychotherapy background, some kind of psychological background, and we're going to marry the two together. What you need to know about spirit release therapy is not a lot, because we will go through everything. We will teach you everything we know. And the end result is going to be somebody who is confident working within the team, confident working in the clearing. And when it comes to negative energy, you're going to be confident in clearing it, not being intimidated by it, and being able to deal with it and be a member of our community. That's what we're looking for. Because this is work. You've all seen how busy this gets. This work will go through every country, every continent. And the more people know about it, the more it's going to spread, and the more good quality therapists are going to be required. So that's really a very brief intro to us. One thing I do want to go through before I pass over to Andy, which I'll do in a second, is I just want to go through our logo with you, because to us it's very important. And that's the logo you see there. So when designing that, you have the angelic wings, which obviously speak for themselves. We're dealing with the highest realms. Andy's guide Chen, my guide White Hawk, and there's a whole team of guides that work with us. Your guides, the facilitators, you have guides. Your guides will be working with us in a team. And, you know, we're looking for guides to work with us in the highest realms that we possibly can. And they're represented by the angel wings. The sword that we have, the sword represents King Arthur's sword, Excalibur. And for those of you that don't know, King Arthur, his sword represented the sword of truth and the sword of justice. And that's why we have the logo that we have, Excalibur and the angel wings. So on that note, I'm going to pass you over to Andy, and then we'll have a chat and see what questions we can answer for you.
Perfect. Thanks, John. That was a really good intro. Almost like you rehearsed it, even though I know you didn't, because we don't do that. So that's the first thing for you guys to get, really, is that you're dealing with two ad-lib people that don't prepare generally and just turn up at the last minute, which my wife always thinks is quite funny, that it's kind of that's the way we do things. But we're both the same in that way, which is actually why we work quite well together. So firstly, I'd like to obviously welcome everybody here. Some faces I recognise, some I don't. I guess you've probably seen us on Lara's podcast, which was a bit of a surprise, really, because obviously, as John has said, we've been doing this for years, and there's been like an underswell of, you know, occasionally we get kind of peaks and troughs of emails and interest, but effectively there's never been this massive avalanche that Lara managed to create on our websites over our weekends with emails and all the other things that have happened. So thanks for that, Lara. It's really good, in a good way, of course. So just as a bit of background, really, from me, just so we kind of know what's going on, and I kind of explain things in a kind of simple way. So I kind of met Terry, basically, Dr. Palmer, in sort of 2011. So he dropped me a mail. He was looking for a medium that was going to do some work. He just finished his PhD in spirit possession and the concepts of that type of thing. And he was interested in how possessing entities and discarnate energies, so, you know, people that have once been alive that are dead, and entities can affect people. That was his kind of like dissertation and stuff, really. So he was interested in doing that. But of course, he's a researcher, scientist, and therefore couldn't speak to spirit. So he was basically reaching out, trying to find somebody that would work with him in a kind of research capacity, totally unpaid, to do that. So fortunately for me, I agreed. I had a normal job, all that kind of stuff. So I said, look, I can't give you much time, but I can, you know, we can find time to do things. So from 2011, we kind of worked through lots of different ideas on how to basically work with people. So we started to work in person with people and work on cases and things with people. Sorry, just turn my phone down. So the idea was basically that's what we would effectively do. We'd start to do this research. And at the time, my Terry came here to my house, basically sat downstairs, and I said to him, look, it's probably best if you talk to Chen, who's my spirit guide, because he can explain what we can and can't do. And I'd already had cases and clients that came to see me that had schizophrenia, that were talking in voices and presenting in a pretty kind of scary way at the time. I didn't know how to deal with it or what to do, and Terry didn't either. So between the pair of us, it was kind of new ground that we were sort of ploughing at the time, really. So Chen basically came through me in trance, spoke to Terry, and basically laid out a kind of agenda to say, right, we're going to basically look at the kind of human etheric field, and we're going to look at everything that's negative in that field, and that can be attached entities, discarnate spirit. But then we started to see implants, like alien implants in people. We started to see curses, so we'd see energy coming in that would hit someone's etheric field, cause them problems. So that was a kind of like a negative stream of energy. We'd see a lot of trauma, people that have been through difficult things. Because effectively, if we kind of get down to brass tacks, really, Earth is a difficult place to be. So we're all kind of here. Everyone's going to have had a difficult life. So we've all got things in our past that, cause us emotional pain and trauma. And that's kind of locked into our etheric field. And depending how bad the trauma is, and depends how we kind of process that, depends how our kind of the evolution of our personality and the way that we can deal with things. So Chen basically said to Terry, look, we're going to find all these things that we don't really know just yet, as well as lots of other things that kind of came up as part of the case studies. So we started to find interdimensional parasites that were connected to people that would affect them negatively. So over that kind of probably like a 8-9 year timeline working with cases, we kept finding different things. But eventually we kind of came up with a protocol, basically working with the spirit guides. And at this point, Chen was building a team in spirit to basically help clear people. And this is kind of the magic, really, because obviously Terry and I were just the kind of, 3D in-person people that were doing the conversational stuff, but the spirit guide team became like the important part of this whole mechanism, because they are the ones that do the work, and effectively I just write emails. So it's like a glorified PA position for me. So Terry kind of got to the point of understanding that was the case. So we came up with this protocol, and then we started to work through clients with it. And we started to see like amazing results that we weren't expecting at all. And Terry then approached the sort of BMA, so the British Medical Board and Psychiatry, to say, look, we've come up with this protocol and we're seeing these amazing results on clients that have some pretty complex, difficult problems that are hard to treat, schizophrenia, people that have been sectioned. But the clever part of it was that we don't even need to see these people. So we weren't seeing and engaging with them face to face. These are people disparate across the whole world that we were sort of connecting to and dealing with. So this protocol became quite clever in that, again, it was the spirit guides that were doing the work. We weren't effectively doing it. And that way we kind of unlocked the potential for this to kind of extrapolate out worldwide. Whereas at the time we thought we'd just deal with in-person people that were coming to see us in our local areas, and that's kind of as far as it went, really. So from that point onwards, Terry started to document all of this, and he wrote his book, which is called The Science of Spirit Possession. And the idea was that book would be used by psychiatry all over the world as the kind of baseline and foundation as to why people are possessed, why people hear voices, why people have a lot of intrusive thoughts, and all the physical problems that go with the spirit attachment issues. So spirit release therapy is the kind of like the package term, if you like. But what we were doing was quite a lot more than that, effectively. But that was the kind of genre that we sort of found ourselves in. So Terry spoke to a lot of different people over the world, and obviously gave presentations. Some of them are on YouTube that you can see. And that kind of became the protocol. And then we decided that working with Chen and his team, and obviously at this point I've met Jonno, so we were doing things together. The idea was we couldn't help enough people because there weren't many of us, basically. So the idea was, okay, right, we need to teach the protocol, and the protocol is not difficult to teach. So we thought, okay, this will be easy. We just teach the methods that we use, and it should be fine. So Terry had this great idea that we just do that over a weekend, which sounded like fun at the time, and it was a fun weekend, and we had quite a few of them that were good, which is where I kind of met John and things. But what we actually found was a lot of the people that came to the course didn't really have an understanding of anything particularly spiritual. It was a kind of a fun weekend to do something different. But of course, what they were walking into was a minefield, really, because you're walking into a place whereby, we're working through meditation practice and techniques, and we're working with clients that effectively have entities with them. And those entities get a little bit upset, and they get the hump generally when we look at removing them and clearing them. So quite a lot of the practitioners that kind of worked with us over the weekend, as Jonno said, went home, started to try and do spirit release therapy on their friends and family and other people if they had a practice. And within 5 minutes, they were in a lot of problems. So we had, our life became quite difficult for quite a while, trying to sort people out that had opened themselves up. They were hearing voices at night. A lot of them were having things turning up at night in their bedroom, which isn't great. Some of them were having suicidal thoughts and that kind of thing. And that extrapolated into their kind of family area as well, their close family. So from this great idea, things kind of got worse quite quickly, and then we stopped doing that basically. And that was the time that we were looking at as to kind of how we were going to change the way that the spirit release therapy protocol and techniques would be taught in a safer environment with the right sort of people. So it became apparent that to do this type of thing, you kind of need to feel called to do it. And if you feel called to do it, you're probably here, which is why you're looking at me and Jonno. But what we need to do, and this is where everything took longer, really. Obviously, Terry then got caught COVID. He was really unwell and then passed effectively. So we were kind of left with this big gap, which obviously Jonno and I talked about continuing the training, but not in the way that had been done before, because it didn't work very well. And that's why we've taken so long now to actually have a theory part of the course that you can do online, you can do it in your own time. And the idea being that when we're communicating with facilitators, quite often I'd be trying to have a conversation with someone that passed the course. So I'd seen them for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, but they had no idea in terms of a lot of the language that I was using as a medium and a lot of the problems that we were seeing, because they weren't particularly spiritual in that way, or didn't understand, what an entity is, how it affects you, the things that they can do, the things that they try and do to kind of cause you problems, that type of thing. So what we wanted to do was put like a theory part of the course together, that everybody that comes through the course, by the time we've all worked through it and you kind of pop out at the end, we're all able to have the same conversation with the same terminology, the same understanding. Everything's being explained in a kind of simplified manner. So the course isn't difficult to do at all. It's just supposed to be a place that everyone that goes through the training can talk to each other and actually has the same understanding, which was the big part that was missing really in that course with Terry. And then once the theory part's been passed, which should be pretty easy and pretty quick to do, then we work into the clever part, which effectively is the online in-person Zoom sessions, where we start to work with proper live cases, live people. We connect and we practice, and that's the bit that kind of hones the skill set for spirit release practitioners, really. And obviously, since we started to do this, which was probably nearly a year ago now, as Jonno said, what we've seen is this massive avalanche of people that need help. And of course, we can't accommodate all of the people that need the help. So the training requirement became bigger quite quickly. And we sort of felt like we were being pushed continually to try and get this working. Because as Jonno says, there's plenty of people that do spirit release therapy and they do it in different ways. This is kind of the way that we developed with Terry. And this is like a proven method. And the other thing for me personally, I wanted to do, I didn't really want to kind of be part of something that wasn't really quite right. And the way that we did it before with Terry, it wasn't really right. And we kind of realized it was problematic because it was too quick. People didn't really understand what they were supposed to be doing. And there were quite a few kind of serial course takers that turned up just for a good fun weekend, which obviously we did have a good fun weekend. And then, as Jonno said, quite a lot of those people basically dropped off really quickly because they realized it was a bit more difficult than they thought it was going to be. And, they couldn't augment that into their current practice or holistic practice that they run. So they kind of dropped off, which again, from our perspective, is this work is really, really needed. And most of you, I guess, have seen from Laura's podcasts and conversations that there's a huge appetite of people that want to do it, that are skilled to do it, and just need to basically follow the right path. And that was the other part of the Spirit Release Academy conversation I had with Jonno back in the day, was we didn't want to just train people and then send them off on their own, because that doesn't really work that well. So we wanted to have like a community concept that we all stay together. You've got access to us. if you've got problems, we've got access to each other. We've got enough people in different time zones that there's always someone that you can potentially ping and, you know, put a message in a forum and say, I need some help, or what does someone think about this? Or, and of course, there might be new things that come up that we can kind of integrate into the current techniques, because we're not saying that this is the kind of be-all technique, that because, you know, myself and Terry developed it over quite a long time period, there's nothing new that can be added, because there's always new things that come up and there's always new things that we can change. And we're not egotistical enough to think that, you know, this is it, basically. It's going to change and we're going to kind of make it better. And that was part of the thing for me. I wanted to make sure that what we build is something that is pliable and we can change it as we need to. So if you guys start to see different things in therapy sessions and they start to come up onto the table, we can talk about it, we can agree that this is a new presentation of a different type of problem, and we can integrate it into the technique, amend the protocol, and then everyone gets taught the new add-on part effectively. So the whole thing can kind of move and adapt as it needs to, which is, you know, which again is part of what I think will make this the kind of, it's a very different way of doing things. In, you know, I've been in the spiritual area now for like 20 years, and there's lots of spiritual people that are fantastic, and we've all kind of learnt our own things and come up doing different things. But there isn't, I mean, I used to look for courses like this where I could actually go and meet people that were kind of, you know, were good and had integrity and were respected and taught the things in the right way. And it's quite difficult to find, actually, because you find lots of disparate people out there doing their own thing that are really good, but they're hard to find, they're generally hard to connect to and contact. And being trained by them is even more difficult because they're generally quite busy, as we've obviously now been. So the idea is that this is supposed to be, you know, a kind of a course that is world leading in that, you know, we're effectively leading the field in the way that we do things. So we are kind of taking things forward from a world leading perspective. And that was Terry's opinion from the work that he did and the people that he spoke to. I mean, he spent some time with some monks in Michigan that were having problems with protection and entities coming into their meditations and talking to them, suicidal thoughts and things. So he was actually dealing with people like that are kind of practice meditators that know what they're doing, but even they had problems. And this technique and protocol was what they now use as part of their training for the, you know, the Buddhist monks that come to them. So it's kind of, it's, you know, it's a thoroughbred method and it's well tried and tested. So obviously what we're looking for from our perspective is just, you know, the right sorts of people to be trained in it. And then we've obviously got this huge demand. In fact, the demand was so big that as soon as we put on the website that we were offering spirit release therapy clearings, we had that many people contacting us that we couldn't cope with. We took it off quickly because the idea was supposed to be that we'd have a team of people behind us that obviously we could, you know, move the work out to the kind of spirit release therapists or practitioners that have been trained. So John and I weren't really expecting it to sort of drop on us, really, in like a funny way, which of course is good. But it shows you that there is this enormous demand. And as, you know, Jonno says, without being egotistical, you know, everyone that is in some type of therapy, if they have attachments with them, that therapy is not really going to work very well at best. But if we can clear what's with them before they go into therapy, it's a different game. It's a complete game-changing perspective for them, really. So I mean, we've dealt with, you know, well, the soldier. If you guys have seen the trailer for Hearing Voices, Soldier Mike that we did the first course with Terry. So he'd been hearing voices for 20 years, been to a war zone. He was totally fine. Came back from Yugoslavia, I think it was at the time, and he was hearing voices, and that carried on for the rest of his life. So he tried to take his life quite a few times. He tried every medication. He'd been sectioned umpteen times. So he'd kind of tried every therapy and everything that he could possibly take, and obviously medicated beyond, you know, belief to a certain degree, and nothing worked. So Terry said to him, look, you come down, we'll basically film the session live, because we didn't know whether it would work or not. So it was a gamble, really, from our perspective. And we said, we'll just work through a protocol, see what comes out, and we'll see if it works. So Ben came and obviously filmed that whole session, which is there. And literally, you know, within an hour, basically, from the start of the protocol to the end, he had no voices. He went and sat down outside and he's looking around and he didn't know what to do. And he kind of burst into tears and things. It was quite emotional. It was quite emotional for us all, actually, at the time, because, you know, we were all quite engaged in what was happening. And that was obviously caught on camera. So he left the day voice free, and then we said to Ben, look, leave him for a couple of weeks and then go and see him, because he lived up quite a long way away from where we were. So Ben, the cameraman, travelled up to actually interview him, basically 2 or 3 hours away. 2 or 3 weeks later, he was still voice free, and he was, unfortunately, he was actually quite angry by then, because he said, look, how can this work? You've done in an hour what I haven't been able to do in 20 years. And I've had problems with my family. He got divorced. He had problems seeing his kids because he'd been sectioned, and he tried to commit suicide. And his life was quite a sad story in a way. But of course, the level of anger was enormous, because he just sat with us and talked, and effectively he'd been cleared. And from my understanding, he's still voice free now, which is obviously years down the line. And this is the thing. This is the kind of impact and the effect that this work actually has. It is kind of enormous. And the beauty of it is you don't need to be a genius to do it, because I'm not a genius, and Jonno's not a genius either. So if we can do it, everybody can do it, basically. It just needs to be worked through in the right way, taught the right way. And obviously, it's about having the support behind the scenes. And I know that when we were talking to Laura, one of the things, of course, is once we've cleared someone, this isn't magic. We don't kind of fix all their problems. If you've been through abuse in your life, sexual, physical abuse, emotional abuse, whatever you've been through that's caused trauma, this spirit release therapy doesn't fix that. It's still there. But what we do is we detach and we clear all of the negative things that are controlling your thought process and intrusively changing your sovereignty, as Jonno said earlier. And that opens up a window of opportunity, really, for you to kind of get your life back on track quite quickly. And this is, again, what we tend to see. Some people run off into the distance and their life has changed, and they're a different person. If people that take a lot of drugs and things, if you go back to doing those things and mixing with the same sorts of people that probably caused some of the problems you had in the first place, then obviously you kind of go back down the snake and arrive back at the start. And of course, you start again effectively. So this doesn't fix everyone's problems. It just gives you a window of opportunity to change, which is the way that we like to see it. And I think Terry used to liken it in the courses that we ran. He used to say we're like paramedics, but spiritual ones that kind of race into the scene, kind of pick you up from the road, detach people from the car, put them in the ambulance, and then we kind of take them to hospital, and then we drop them at the door and say, they've been patched up, they're still alive, over to you. And this, from my perspective, is where we probably also need to build a team of support type therapy, whereby we can signpost people into, if someone's been PTSD, in the forces or the military, spirit release therapy, we can clear entities that are with them, we can clear a lot of things that are with them, but then they probably need signposted into someone that can do one-to-one therapy and go through some of that work, which some of you guys probably are those people. And this is the augmented part of this course, really, is the idea is that this community will build a kind of support network organically behind the scenes, so that as clients come in, they're worked on, they're cleared, and then effectively they're kind of signposted into other people that are doing different types of therapy that's required. So hopefully that kind of explains the background behind what we're doing, why we're doing it the way we are doing it, and why it's going to be really good. Well, that's my personal opinion. And of course, the other thing is, Terry's obviously sat here continually moaning to me all day long about how slow everything is and what we need to do and all that kind of stuff. So from my perspective, we're still very connected to Terry. He's been part of this whole thing. He sits there as I'm typing and moans about things continually. So the whole course has kind of been like co-developed by myself. Bert the dog sits behind me and Terry sits in a chair which I put across there for him. So it's kind of like we are still connected and of course that's probably what's happened from a spiritual perspective. Because as Jonno says, we've been doing this for ages, and there's not, it's been an undercurrent of interest, but nothing like Laura's brought to the table. And when I spoke to Terry, he laughed and said, he set that up. Basically, he was looking for a group of the right type of people with the right integrity and that kind of stuff to basically kind of move into this space. So, from a spiritual perspective, there's this massive team behind the scenes that no one gets to see, but I can generally hear, and Jonno can hear, because they talk a lot, but they're the ones that are building this whole thing. So we're just the kind of front end 3D, the face of it effectively, but what's behind the scenes is a lot bigger than we are. So I think from my perspective, Jonno, probably, does that answer lots of questions? And hopefully.
This is the course in the nutshell. In the nutshell, you're going to get assessors, you're going to get Andy and I, you're going to get the whole spiritual team of the academy working with you and helping you to go through and pass your course with good experience. Just to let you know, Andy and I have been part of a team that have done probably around 1,500, 1,600 recorded sessions now. And with Andy's experience in his healing and release work, the same as mine, there's a lot of experience we're going to share with all of you. The course is going to be certified with IPHM, the International Practitioners of Holistic Medicine, and we're also going for a National Occupational Standards Award. Because of that, we're having to work to the best professional quality that we can. We do not have that award at the moment. We don't have it because we haven't run a course yet, and we have to go through the course to be able to get the NOS certification. But we are running in line with the quality assurance of the National Occupational Standards Professional Award. So we are running to that level as well. Because of that, the first people to come through the course are going to get a discount code for 10%. And the process now is obviously Andy and I will answer any questions that you have for us. But the process will be that once we finish this call, have a little think if it's for you. If it is for you, ping us an email. Ping us an email telling us why it's for you, because that will go on to your application process. We are going to go through your application and we're going to come back to you with our response. And on a positive response, you'll be given a discount code, which will give you 10% off the course. And then you can go on, access the course, and we can begin the process. For those of you looking to do the 10-month course, it might be that you do the theory practice quickly, but your course will take 10 months. The assessors will see you through that process, and it will be approximately a 10-month course. For those of you who are doing the 6-month course, it will obviously be a quicker process. And the assessors and myself and Andy will see you through in a roughly the 6-month timescale. For those of you doing bespoke, we will try our best to work to your timescale. We got people that are interested in doing that, who have a lot of time to dedicate to learning, a lot of time to dedicate to putting into the release therapy. And we will work with you as much as we can to your timescale. And you will get the certification when you're confident enough, when you run through the portfolio and get it assessed and verified. And it could be 2 months, it could be 3 months. It all depends on what that individual puts into it. The quicker and the more they put into it, the more they'll get out of it. Andy and I are also running an in-person training course. That will be a 5-day course. That will be with myself and Andy. The first one will be in the UK, and we're trying to time it at the moment for the week of the 27th of November. And then from that, the next one will probably be February next year, and then we'll roll it on. But that, again, it will be working with myself and Andy in a room, and we'll be going through the whole protocol in minute detail. We'll do working live cases with us, with you. And again, we'll get to the stage where we have confidence, where those people can then go out into the community of the academy and then start doing the work through the weekly sessions that we're going to have as well. So that's our intentions for the course. And really at this stage is, if you have any questions, please shout them out. Maybe put a Zoom hand up or something, we'll come to you, or just shout them out and we'll have a chat. Ideally, what this course isn't, and it's important you know what this course isn't, is this course is not a psychic development or a spiritual development course. So if people are coming in on the facilitation side, they don't need to know how to communicate with guides, because that's not their skill factor. That's not their part of the team. But they will have to understand psychic protection 100%, because this is part of the deal. This is part of the deal when we're dealing with sovereignty. But that will be covered in the course. We have we have different sections. Part of it is questions and answers to see you through that. When it comes to psychic protection, the questions and answers is 100% pass mark. Not 80, not 95, not 75, not 50, 100%. This is how serious Andy and I take psychic protection. So the more you understand about that, the better it's going to be. If you're going to come in on the face-to-face, there are different ways of learning psychic protection. I'm doing another psychic protection chat in just a couple of weeks' time. I haven't put the dates up yet, but that will be done in a couple of weeks' time. And depending upon when you want to do the face-to-face, if you're going for November, we can work something out where when you turn up, you will be happy about psychic protection.
Awesome.
If you're going to go for February, then we have time to go through the online chat. You have time to go through the course that Andy runs on psychic protection as well. This is not, without being dramatic, what we're doing is not a game. When you see the clients that we deal with, this really, really, really is not a game.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the feedback we get is nearly always emotional. So we've got to be up there. We've got to be the best that we can be. So for somebody coming in as facilitator, if you do have a psychological background or something like that, that would be absolutely fine. It's not essential, but it would be preferred. And we will make sure that you understand the basics of psychic protection so that when you do turn up, you know what we're talking about. And also, for those that do the face-to-face course, you will be given access to the online course, and you will have time to complete the online section before you turn up. So again, when you meet Andy and I, if we start talking about certain phrases, you will have a good base understanding of what it is we're talking about. It's not going to be a turn up green and then 5 days later you're out in the big world.
We're also hoping you might teach us something, which would be nice. So it kind of can be like a reciprocal, arrangement effectively, because all of you are all doing things. There's lots of practitioners here that work with clients every day. You do things that we don't do. So this is another kind of ask from my perspective, really, is that we kind of make this a lot bigger. So it's not just about us dictating what we do and how we do it and expecting you to do the same. If you've got better ideas, then we take them on board. We talk about it. We kind of, Jonno and I we like to think we're quite open and personable people in that way. So, this needs to be fun as well. So it's fine if you come to the 5-day course in the UK, we're going to have a laugh. It's going to be fun. It's going to be serious at times, and we're not going to go through lots of things. But we're generally quite funny people, we think, most of the time. And this is the whole thing, that this is spiritual, but we should be enjoying it. And it's kind of one of my things is, if I'm not enjoying what I do, then I shouldn't be doing it, basically. So we need to kind of get that approach, and that's part of the kind of the dictate for both me and Jonno. But we both want everyone that's involved to actually love and enjoy what they do with passion, because it should be fun. We do some shit stuff and we deal with some nasty things sometimes, but we do it in a kind of very professional way, obviously. But we also have fun, and we've got guides and stuff that crack jokes and we have a laugh. So there needs to be that level of underlying kind of energy in this whole thing. So if you're sat there thinking, well, I'm not really up to speed, or I don't know this or that, the reason that we're running the course is because we've been doing it for a long time. So that's kind of why we're kind of here. So we're not expecting you to be that person, but you will probably be that person pretty quickly if that's what is on your path. Because obviously, as we all know from a spiritual perspective, if you're supposed to be here doing this work, then your guides are going to make sure by hook or by crook that you end up having to do it, because that's kind of how it works, really. And if that's the case, then there's probably not a better bunch of people we can put together to do it with together. And this is where we're both hoping to get to a point that we've got a really good supportive community. And one of the things that I kind of loved about when I met Lara, really, Jonno and I have been approached by quite a few people over the years that that have and want to take the course and do things, generally people that are looking at it from a more commercial perspective in terms of making money. And it's part of the reason that our pricing structure is affordable, because there's no point in having a therapy that people need that they can't afford. So it's all, it's supposed to be, open and available to everybody that needs help. So, we could be charging ridiculous amounts of money for what we do, but we don't choose to do that because it kind of then shuts you down and away from the people that do need help. So, and there's plenty of people that, that obviously do that work. But when we met Lara, and obviously we looked at her stuff and we, reviewed some of her podcasts and we had a conversation about it, we felt that she was the right person with the right community and the right energy for us to be involving ourselves with, which is great, obviously. So we're quite thankful that that's happened and it's kind of moved in this direction. And this effectively for us, I think, feels like a start of something that's going to be pretty big, bigger than we were expecting it to be. And I know that Chen, obviously my guide, and obviously Whitehawk, Jonno's guide, they've got some pretty big ideas that we probably won't share at the moment, but they tend to be sort of blue sky thinkers in that way, really, which is good because it keeps us on our toes.
Yeah, excellent. I hope that helps you. So just going through other questions that have come through. So do you have to exactly know if you want to be a medium or facilitator before the course starts in your enrollment? One of the things with this is that if you're not a medium, this is not the place where you're going to learn mediumship. I strongly believe that everybody has a spiritual connection. I believe that everybody is psychic, but this is not a psychic development course, and this is not a mediumship course. We do, my wife Louise, she works with her sister Michelle. They do podcast on Psychic Sundays, and they do run spiritual development courses. So we can point people in the direction of learning how to be a medium. If you're a facilitator, you will not walk out of this as a medium. If you're a medium, you could also facilitate. So I hope that helps. Facilitators, you have a very, very important role within the team, and the medium needs you. So it is kind of black and white. You're either a medium or you're a facilitator. A medium can facilitate for somebody else. The facilitator cannot be a medium for someone else. I hope that kind of explains it a little bit. However, saying that, there are many people that come on as facilitators and they do learn mediumship, they do learn spiritual workings, and they do enhance their psychic abilities as well. So it doesn't mean that in 2 years' time you can't do it. But honestly, without going into it in too much detail, Andy and I both know people that have come on a 2-day course, walked out as professional mediums doing this, and created a lot of problems. So not on this course, it can't do that, I'm afraid. Have you discussed the cost of the 5-day course in person in the UK? The course and then the stay at the Angel Hotel. So the in-person course is £5,000. We are trying to get confirmation from the Angel Hotel in Chippenham in Wiltshire that they can host us. At the moment, we are unsure. We're trying to get confirmation, but we should know by the end of the week, perhaps by Monday. We are also exploring other options as well. Once we know exactly where we're going, we're going to try and get discount for people to book the rooms and take it on from there. But unfortunately, I can't give you a full price on that at the moment. But we will do very, very soon. Daniela, what email address would you like us to write to for the application? So the email address that came out to you with the Zoom link for this evening, if you could please reply to that, that would be absolutely perfect. Off the top of my head, so I never write myself an email. Andy, what's our email address? Spirit Release Academy at Proton.
Yeah, sorry, I've just popped it in the chat. Yeah, so Spirit Release Academy at proton.me.
You just put it in the chat, have you?
Yeah.
All right, brilliant. Thank you.
But I mean, you can just
So
go
there
to the
you are.
website. It's obviously on the contact page of the website as well.
Yeah, do that. That would be great. Okay, please let us know the payment plan for the 5-day course. So at the moment, we're trying to get a payment plan together with PayPal. We're very, very close to securing that. And again, I think it would be fair to say by the end of the week, Andy, we'll have an answer on that.
Yep, should do. Yep.
Okay. Regarding the 5-day course, I won't be able to join the November one, but I would like to know if you have any idea if it's going to be the beginning or the end of February. It's probably going to be the middle towards the end of February. That's when it's probably going to be. This is not set in stone. As soon as we're happy with a location, we're going to try and roll it on but that is an option. I had a session with Louise. She's amazing. Thank you very much for saying that. She is my wife. I'm extremely biased, and she is amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that. The email address is on there. May I ask a question on camera? Absolutely. Danielle.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Hello.
Perfect.
Hi. Okay, good. Okay, so I have a few questions. Hope that's okay. Okay, one that's very important to me that I've been thinking about. I'm a mother of 4 kids, and so if I start doing this course, obviously protection is important, but we're going to protect ourselves. But what about our family? You guys are going to teach us how to continuously protect our family members while we're getting involved in this?
Huge.
Okay, because like I'm
Absolutely.
obviously nervous about them. My next question is, I am doing the 10-month. I'm interested in the 10-month course just because, again, 4 kids, life. But I am a stay-at-home mom, so I'm flexible. I'm able to. I'm not working, so my husband is the provider, so I can dedicate a lot to it. But you didn't mention about yourself and Andy. Are you guys going to be a part of the 10-month course too? Like, will we have access to you guys?
Absolutely. So just going back onto the protection thing,
Okay.
hopefully what everyone is getting from myself and Andy is how much we put into the understanding of psychic protection, not just for me and Andy or for our families and homes, but for the people that work with us and also for our clients. We push psychic protection on everybody. So the one, I'm not someone that goes around making promises willy-nilly, but I promise you, psychic protection is a huge part of this course, and we're going to teach you how to protect yourself, your family, your children, your homes, and to not fear it. Andy doesn't fear it. I don't fear it. Because I know we're confident at it, but you're going to get all of our experience to put you in that place as well.
We still do get problems though, of course, which is the caveat. So it's not like we live in this kind of fantastic bubble of nothing happening to us, because that basically isn't the case. And obviously a lot of the clients that we're dealing with are coming from some pretty negative backgrounds. So lots of clients have had pretty bad things done to them by some pretty kind of elite people that involve themselves with some pretty negative things. So the whole kind of satanic thing kind of comes to mind quite quickly. So again, this type of work kind of does take you into that space, which we need to understand and we need to be aware of. But of course, that is part of what we do and how we do it effectively. So, the difference is, I think, from my perspective, Danielle, is a really good question, is that, we will teach you everything you need to know, but you'll still get a few problems, just that you'll know how to deal with them. And if you can't deal with them or you have a problem, then you've got people like us behind you that can, basically. And that's the key with this. And that's what never happened before. So on the last course, people went off home all around the world. Terry was in Argentina for a course. So, he flew back to the UK, and within 5 minutes, there's people there having problems and different time zones to us. And we were struggling to try and talk to them and find out what was going on and what they hadn't done or what they didn't know how to do. So, as part of this is us all kind of working forward together. But obviously, Jonno and I do this every day professionally. So it's kind of what we do. And we're pretty good at it generally. not that we're good at it, but the guide team that we're working with is very good at it, as most of you have probably noticed, because it has been going on for 20 years, so they should be pretty good by now. So effectively, that's what you kind of, that's where we kind of take you to, is that you come into the wing of this huge, big spiritual team that we can't see, but they are there for you, and they will sort things out for you. But there still will be problems that crop up, because it's spirit, obviously.
And the other thing, Daniel, just on that, is that these things are out there already. It's just that you didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And because you know about it, you're going to know how to deal with it. Now, one of the things you'll see on my website is a spiritual health check and a spiritual clearing. A spiritual health check is a watered down version of a spirit release clearing. So there is no reason at all why you couldn't come into this and work spiritual health, work something like a spiritual health check. So I do know people that work the lighter side of our industry, and then when it comes into a client that's got some heavy stuff going on, they pass it on to me or Andy. So you have that option as well. And there are plenty of people that want to go through the spiritual health check, but it's up to you to manage it. It's up to you to manage the clients that you have, who you have. And before long, it might be that you're chucking curses out the window and telling me and Andy how to do it. You never know. The other thing that you mentioned was, are Andy and I going to be available on the 10-month course? Andy and I are available for every student on every course.
Okay, so that was my question, because obviously I'm assuming those of us, like when we start getting into, even if we're just training, they're going to be aware of it, and we might get ourselves in a little pickle. And, like it, just to know that we're not left behind, if we need help, you guys are available.
And you know what, Danielle, you've just done the best response. When you said we might get ourselves in a bit of a pickle, you laughed. Andy and I laugh at negative entity and negative energy. We don't entertain it. We don't have discussions with it. We don't have a cup of tea with it and sit down and share a cake. But it does not intimidate us in any way, shape, or form. And in actual fact, and I think I'll speak for Andy as well, is that when I get a client with some really heavy shit going on, I love it. I love it. And I jump in straight away with my size 11 feet and I'm in there. Doesn't mean to say that everybody's going to be exactly the same. You can do a lighter version. But the whole thing with this is just like being bullied. If you're going to be bullied by a negative energy and you back away, the energy will get stronger. And the energy is out there anyway. It's just that you didn't know and you didn't understand what it is. When it comes to spirit release therapy, you see that negative energy as a bully. And you're the person that stands up and says, this ain't happening anymore. And the first thing that will happen with a bully is that they will test you. They will test whether you've got the metal to deal with it. And again, if you back down, the negative energy will get stronger. If you laugh at it and tell it that it doesn't intimidate you, you've now taken complete dominance of that situation, because you will have no fear. And if you have no fear, the negative energy can't dominate you. With knowledge of what you're doing, not without knowledge of what you're doing. So it's not something that you'll be on your own with at all. Give me an example. I was in hospital last year. I was in hospital for a bit of time. And Louise and my sister-in-law, Michelle, came to visit me. And hospitals were absolutely rife with negative energy and attachments. And the first thing they did when they walked out was contact Andy. And what we're looking to do is to create a community where we all rely on each other, where we all help each other, where we all support each other. The only difference between what we're doing, the only difference between where you'll be in 18 months' time, a year's time, is that you're confident and you know what you're doing. The energy won't have differed that surrounds you, your family, or anything else. Plenty of people have attachments and stuff going on. They just got no idea how to clear it. or no idea how to recognize it, and we'll be going through all that. So I hope that helps you. Any other questions?
I have a few more, if that's okay. I don't mean to take over the show, though.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
You're not taking over.
So while we're training this, so I'm assuming, I do remember I was part of the live with Andy and Chen, which was amazing, by the way. But Chen mentioned that, well, in Laura's live, which I'm assuming a lot of us are coming from there, we are like a part of a soul group, and it's been kind of implemented on the spiritual side. So if we're called to do this, our spirit team, they're going to be training for this as well to help protect us. That's what I wanted to know.
Yes, basically. So yeah, basically the way that this kind of works, obviously Chen, Whitehawk, and their kind of spiritual team now comprises of a large number of basically ETs, effectively. So these aren't people that have been like us in a human life that kind of, you know, pass on and then arrive on the other side with the sort of skill sets required to remove and clear the most negative things that walk the planet, effectively, that we can't see. So what Chen and Whitehawk have on the other side is a pretty exhaustive team of some pretty amazing extraterrestrial energies, basically, that do that. And that's why this works, because what we're working with is that, effectively, we're working with a massively powerful team. And that's the difference between the way that we're working and, you know, other people. So your own guides won't be specialized in removing demonic entities that are attached to your etheric field if that's not their speciality. What we'll do as part of this is effectively your guides kind of hook up with Whitehawk and Chen and the team behind the scenes, and they effectively have access to them. So your guide doesn't need to know how to do this stuff. They just need to basically work with you and take you through your spiritual path. But when you start to work with clients, your guide will then be putting the call out to Chen and going up through the hierarchy. So they have a hierarchy on the other side. And quite often Chen will say to me, you know, this is so negative that I won't get involved myself. And then he basically calls in, you know, a higher level ET basically to help clear and move things, and it's gone immediately. So there is a hierarchy that happens. So your guides basically get connected up into that kind of hierarchy. So effectively, they don't have to go on the course themselves, obviously. They're just basically part of the overall group, which is the cool thing. And that's what I think, for me, you know, is one of the really good things about this type of work, is that, again, you know, we don't have to be geniuses to do this stuff. All we need to be is confident, really. And if it's your calling, then you'll feel passionate about it. And effectively, from my perspective, and most of you probably agree, it's like super quick, because of course there is no time in spirit. So, you know, if you go and see an acupuncturist and you lie on a couch, you spend an hour lying there like a pin cushion full of needles, basically, to have the healing modality that they use. Whereas obviously we can connect to Chen and his team, they can connect to your client and they can clear them in seconds. It takes us longer to write the reports and to do all the admin than the actual spirit team to do the work. So this doesn't have to be quantified in time.
I don't know.
Because of the way we see this going, is that we will need people within our umbrella, our team, however you describe it, working to the standards of the academy, working to the continued improvement of spirit release therapy. And that team will expand with more people that get certified and more people that work with us. So as Andy says, once you do your certification, there is no control from us. You know, you can go and do your own business, take it into your own practice. But if you want to stay in the academy, there will be lives regularly going on with assessors, with different teachers, going through different experiences. And we have space for anybody and everybody who has that dedication. We have been invited to the US to teach already. We've been invited to a country in Europe. Andy doesn't even know this. I heard that today. We've been invited to a country in Europe to teach. We have people in Australia that also want to do the course. So there's an option there as well. Andy and I are only two of us, and we're in one time zone. We will need people in Australasia, in North America, South America, in Europe, because the whole thing with this is that it affects everybody. So we're just at the very tip of this industry. Hardly anybody has ever heard of it.
I think as well, John,
we
that's a really good point actually that you just made. But I think as well, my kind of idea, I know Terry's idea, was to have these hubs basically of kind of like champion people. So you have someone in New York that runs, that is the person that runs New York, or someone in a different state that runs that state, or someone in that country that is heading up that country. So you guys can start running the training and courses in the places that you live as well. So it's not just about doing things with us. It's about, people in the academy say, okay, I live in Singapore. I'd like to kind of run the training here, through the academy, the same training, same teaching, same access. So people can start heading things up basically and kind of running it in the way that kind of works for us and them effectively. So that's the idea, is that we need this to kind of populate the planet. And obviously we're not going to do that with 2 people. So the more people that join and the more people that have got ideas on how we can do that quickly, and if you want to become the sort of champion in your area, your country, your state, then we definitely are up for that conversation.
And the other thing quickly that we haven't discussed is something that perhaps you should know, is that Andy and I don't see the academy as it stands today as the be all and end all. We want this in prisons. We want this in institutions and in hospitals. We will need analysts. We will need people that have the skill factors that Andy and I don't have to come into the academy and to take on the research. We've already got people messaging us saying that they're bilingual. We can have this all over the world. We need the right people to come in. If we get the right people, it's not about rushing it, it's about getting the right people. If we get the right people, we can build strong foundations. If we build strong foundations with the academy, we've got some sort of structure that we can build on it. So Andy and I are open to anybody who has that desire to put that work in to be at that level with us. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, you can go ahead, Jonno. You like talking.
Okay. So the fact that you have some mediumship ability is great. And I'm going to be respectful, is that you do not bring that into the academy.
Yeah.
You work as a facilitator. You work to facilitate the meeting. You work to facilitate the clearing with the medium.
Yeah.
Like I'm projecting, is that this is not a place for practicing mediumship. We're dealing with clients who are vulnerable, and they are not clients that we practice work with. So in this sense, Sheena, you would come in as a facilitator. You would work the course, understand the role of the facilitator, and you become an expert as a facilitator. If you went off on the side and started learning your mediumship as well, and then in 18 months' time started bringing your expertise as a medium into working, that's a different facilitator as an essential part of the team. So you have a facilitator and you have a medium working together.
Yeah.
If I'm working with Andy, if Andy's the medium, I will control the session.
Okay.
We teach it to work in pairs. So I will be making sure that Andy does not go down any rabbit holes. I will make sure that Andy does not go down any areas that are not required. What we do at clearings, we do not do conversations and a historic background. We go in. So if you like, if there's a radar up there full of negativity, we go in, we clear it, we get out. If you want to do this work and really risk bringing stuff home, go and have a chat with them. Go and hang about with them and have a conversation with them for longer than you need to and see what reaction you get. This is all about the facilitator keeping a hold on the medium, making sure that the medium is safe, making sure that the medium goes through the protocol exactly as we teach it. If you start evolving it after that, brilliant. But learn the basics and learn the basics well. And then the facilitator is essential in keeping the basics together with the medium and running the whole session. It takes experience and confidence. And that's what we're teaching.
Just
run
on
the
that same point, John, if I can just nip in there, obviously, it's a really good question, actually, because effectively, if you look at the model, if you look at the case studies and the YouTube videos that are on my channel, I think on Terry's as well. So Terry was the facilitator, basically. Terry couldn't talk to guides, he wasn't a medium. So that's kind of where the concept of the facilitator came from. That was him.
Yeah.
So in the kind of early days when we were practicing this, I'd obviously be in full trance, Chen was in, Terry was talking to Chen was looking at the client's etheric field and saying, this is what we see, we've got a negative level 2 here that's talking to us that it's pretty nasty, and Terry would be like, okay, can we remove it, can we clear it? So that's the kind of like the split between the roles. The facilitator is kind of running the protocol because they've got a printed list of things to ask and do. But what you tend to find really, Sheena, with a lot of mediums is they kind of go off literally down the rabbit hole. So they'll start telling you about how they feel or what they're saying or what they're seeing. And, you could spend like 6 hours working on one case if you have a medium that's not controlled and they just disappear off and start talking, in all sorts of different ways. So what we kind of got to was the concept that this is a very kind of well-practiced procedure. And as soon as the medium starts to say, I've just seen a bulb, or I've seen a this, or I've seen a that, the facilitator says, okay, right, back on track. How many of this? How many of that? What's the guide saying? So it's trying to keep the medium flowing, really, because most mediums tend to kind of easily disappear off down to rabbit holes. Easy to do if you're a medium, but the facilitator effectively is kind of managing the clearing, really. So it's their job to manage the process. And also quite a lot of times mediums probably will get attacked by negative things. And again, it's the facilitator's job to kind of manage what's happening and to either end the session, bring them back, or, a thought out to Chen and his team to do things. So there's quite a lot of, the facilitator actually has the kind of, most mediums that can talk to their guides, it's kind of second nature, and you have a conversation the same as we're talking now. So for a medium, it's not a particularly difficult thing to do. Not in there, Johnny.
So everybody here has guides, and their guides are part of the team. And even though, if I'm facilitating for Andy, even though the main guide that we talk to will be Chen will be in control of the spirit team. Everything in this is all about teamwork. It's all about strength, and you have strength in unity and strength in a team and strength in community. So it's all about driving that. The facilitator's role is very, very important to us. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, that's the thing. We talk about radar quite a bit. Get your head in radar. Yeah, good. One of the questions that's come up actually is, will we be teaching the same system that we both use? Completely honestly, the protocol that I use now has been enhanced a little bit, and the spine of my protocol is exactly what I used to work with Terry. And I think the answer is probably the same for Andy. So we will be teaching the spine of the protocol exactly as we have worked 1,600 cases. And then again, once you're qualified, if you want to put another little question in there, it's not for us to police it. But if you want to stay with us and want to stay with the academy, then you'll be working a very, very similar protocol all the way through. And we will be looking to enhance it. We will be looking to better it. So I hope that answers that question.
You're looking at the chat, John. I've just put in the chat basically a link to the video where we basically worked on Mike, the kind of soldier, and it kind of shows those roles, because so you can see kind of Terry talking to Mike about some of the things. Then obviously I pick up on the fact that some of the things that are connected to him, obviously, because basically what happened, he basically walked down a road. This was in a war scenario. He was a soldier, and him and his platoon walked down a road where a huge bomb had just gone off, basically, and a lot of people had been vaporized immediately, and they didn't know they were dead. So they basically were out of body. They were vaporized in seconds, effectively. And some of those people connected to the platoon, Mike being the lead scout, effectively. So he had quite a few people that kind of basically connected to him and then effectively followed him around for the next 20 years, really. And they were the voices that he could hear, and that was the stuff that he felt. And that was what we cleared as part of that kind of workshop, effectively, that stopped the voices for him. So that there's some, obviously those videos are probably worth a watch, because you actually see the roles in action. You can see Terry talking to Mike, And we went into a few other things as well, but you can generally see the concept that Terry's kind of running through the questioning, and then I'm kind of there doing the medium part, obviously with Chen. And obviously I picked up on the people that were connected to him. I was talking to them, and then obviously we got Chen's team to detach them, move them on. So again, a bit like a sort of spirit soul release session as well, effectively, as a clearing generally. So quite a few things that happened as part of that workshop on that weekend for Mike. So there was, more than just spirit release therapy. There was also, some other things happening, which again is all videos. So it might be worth a watch just to see that working.
But Andy, do we have that video in the training, don't we?
Yeah, probably actually. Yeah, there's a whole series of like 6 or 7 videos. I think they're currently on my website. They'll probably be on the Spirit Release Academy website as well, just to basically show a spirit release therapy session actually live in practice.
Yeah, so the videos that we talk about are all in the training sessions as well, so you'll be able to see it. It sounds like you will need to coordinate sessions between medium and facilitators when performing a clearing, completing training. So what will happen is when you come through the training session, you're going to work with different facilitators, you're going to work with different mediums, and you're going to form different friendships and different partnerships. It might be that it might be as a medium that you get used to working with 4 or 5 different facilitators. It might be if you're a facilitator that you get used to working with 3 or 4 different mediums, and then you just hook up. We know people in England that hook up with a partner in America online and then do clearance for a client in Australia. So that's exactly how it works. You don't have to be sitting face to face. You literally go on a Zoom call, you meet your friend, you meet your team member, you bring the case in, and you start being professional and start working. And that client that you have can be anywhere in the world. And that's what makes it so, or one of the reasons that makes it so powerful. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, you get to meet lots of people around the world. I mean, we've got people here from all over the place: Australia, Europe, America. You do the training course, you could these people will become your friends and colleagues. That's how it works. Does medium mean only a trance medium? No. No, Andy and I are both trance mediums. We both work in trance, but a medium in this work does not need to be a trance medium. They can be a mental medium. They can be clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, however that is for them. People coming in now as facilitators that are learning about their spirituality, about learning about enhancing their psychic gifts, their mediumship gifts. There's no reason at all why in time they can work as mediums. Andy and I are very cautious about people coming in as mediums or saying they're mediums when they're not. And the reason why we're very cautious is because we have seen the problems. Through the training session, we will come out with a lot of stories and a lot of examples. But we have seen huge problems with people who think they're something they're not. And we can't have those problems because it's people's lives at the other end that are affected by it. So it is something we can support. We can support psychic development, spiritual development. We can support that. We got Louise and Michelle that will start doing more mediumship training not on behalf of the Academy, but we can point people in that direction. We've got psychic protection courses with Andy. I do a psychic protection course and a gatekeeper course. I'm also going to start doing healing meditations online as well. So people can progress and understand the mediumship side of what we do. But to do the work, you have to be up there. You have to be confident with your guide, your gatekeeper, know what's what, and be willing to work with a facilitator as well and work as a team. And once you get a good cohesion, between a facilitator and a medium, you've got an awesome team that will do immense work. And no, it's not included.
courses?
Yeah, so a gatekeeper is a guide who's the protector. They're a specialist role. A medium doesn't have to know who their gatekeeper is. They have to know how to be a good medium. The facilitator doesn't need to know who their gatekeeper is at all. So for people that want to learn and specialize in psychic protection, I strongly advise that they learn a lot about it and as much as they can. If anyone takes a 6 months course, will the online sessions be fixed, please? I'm just a bit worried about the schedule, since there are times I can't make other schedules. So by times being fixed, I'm guessing that you are possibly asking if we're going to do 7:30 every night. No. We know we have people from all over the world at different time zones. We will make ourselves available to all of our people coming through the training. This is what Andy and I do. This is our job. The academy has been set up because it's our passion. And if we honestly believe that we want to have good quality spirit release therapists in Australia, America, Canada, South America, then we've got to put ourselves out at different times to talk to people. But as we progress, and as we have people coming through the academy and staying with us and working with us, we will have experienced people in different time zones around the world. That's how we're hoping to build it. So yes, Elaine, if you do the 6 month course, if it means that I talk to you at a certain time in the morning, I will talk to you at a certain time in the morning. Do we have any idea around when you start the 10-month course? When is the 10-month course starting? So at the moment, the application process is we're going through this. We're having a chat with you about the course and how important it is. From that, you're going to email us and tell us that you want to go ahead, and you're going to tell us whether you want to do the 10-month course, 6-month course, bespoke course, or the in-person course. From that, we will open up a discount code for you, and you will be able to go back in and pay for the course and access the course, and then the course will begin. We are working through each person individually, so we are not going to send out 60 codes in one day. We're going to work it individually, and it will trickle through, because we don't have the opportunity to do 60 people in one day. So it will be the people that come in first. We will gather their information and we'll reply to them first. Are there monthly options for payment? We're working with PayPal. We're working through PayPal at the moment, and hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have a very good idea of how that's going to happen. We are trying our best to give an opportunity for people to pay monthly. We've only just set up the PayPal account. We have had PayPal accounts closed when they realized the work that we do, and they have closed it. So we now think that we've gone around that, and that we've got a PayPal account that works. But hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have that. The thing is, Andy and I know how it works in the UK, and you don't have to have professional indemnity to do it, but we strongly advise that people do, particularly if you want to be a professional person in a professional practice doing professional work. It's vital that you have the right insurance and the right certifications. And this is where Andy and I are. This is how we work. How it works in other countries and other practices, we just don't know. We don't know what the process is. But in a professional world, it's always best to have the correct certification and the correct insurance.
I understand that. Thank you.
So we had the same conversation in the UK. Obviously, when we set the psychic surgery, we set up an organisation called UPS, the Unity of UK Psychic Surgeons. And then when we approached the insurance companies, of course, they laughed, because psychic surgery is not even proven to work, and there is no pure proof it even happens. But of course, it didn't stop the insurance companies deciding that they'd quite like to take that on, really, because then everyone that was basically qualified as a psychic surgeon obviously needed to have insurance from insurers that basically knew that, you're never going to be claimed against particularly, but of course you need to have the insurance to be able to do the work. So the whole thing's I think it's a big joke personally, but that's just my bugbear with insurance companies.
Thank you.
Does that all help? Hopefully all of you have learnt a little bit more about myself and Andy, and why we set up the academy the way that we have. It is about trying to drive it to the best we can possibly get and the best we can possibly be. Andy and I can't do all that by ourselves, and it is about creating a community that moves this forward. We want this, and we're being pushed by Terry to get this into hospitals, prisons, institutions, and everywhere else. So the actual team that we hope to have in 10 years' time is going to be incredible, but that has to start somewhere. And at the moment, that starts with you guys. So, you know, if there's no more questions, we'd like to thank you very much for your time and listening to us about the academy. Hopefully, it's sparked a little bit of passion about helping people that are vulnerable and need this kind of work. And if it has, then you're certainly the person that we want to work with and help you take on our experience and the protocol and see what we can do. So please email us. We will be going through everybody individually. Lastly, I'm going to thank everybody for their patience. You know how busy we've both been. We will get to everybody. We've taken somebody on to look after the admin in the academy, but they're not going to start for about another week. So things are going to get better. Things are going to get smoother. And please just thank you for your patience. We will get back to you. We look forward to hearing from you. We're really passionate and excited about getting the process going and getting the course open and working with you. So on that note, thank you very, very much. With the blessings from me and my guides to you and yours. And we look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.